5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You know, when we in this House decide how the taxpayers' money is going to be spent, it represents a statement of our values, a statement of our priorities. And the question of whether we should adequately fund the National Endowment for the Arts is one of those that speaks loudly to our values. It speaks loudly to our respect for the creative genius of human beings. It speaks loudly about our understanding of what the human soul is about. We've heard much documentation of the economic impact of the arts throughout our country, $165 billion annually in economic activity. I certainly can attest to the fact that in my community of Louisville, Kentucky, more than 20,000 of my constituents are involved actively, professionally in the arts. We are one of the only communities that has resident theater, resident opera, ballet, children's theater, a vibrant visual arts community. It is one of the things that makes my community a community where the quality of life is significantly enhanced. It's one of those things that brings people to my community. And so the economic importance of the arts is undeniable. But I ask again about our priorities. The amount of money that we're talking about now, roughly $10 million over a period of years, we spent in the first few minutes of our activity in Libya. The first few Tomahawk missiles we launched there, that was $10 million. We spent $10 million in less than 1 hour in Afghanistan. Less than 1 hour. So here we're talking about millions of jobs supported by the funding from the National Endowment for the Arts, $165 billion in economic activity, and against all of the other things we do where there is so little payback for what we spend of the taxpayers' money. But there are two things I'd like to mention in addition to kind of the value-added aspects of arts funding. If you think back along the history of mankind, what has survived of the great civilizations of this world? The only thing that has survived has been the creative product of the minds of men and women throughout history. Literature, music, architecture, painting, sculpture. These are the only things that have survived. If you look around this glorious room that we have the privilege of serving in, famous painting of George Washington, Lafayette, the architecture that's represented here, this is all the creative product of the men and women of generations. This is what our soul speaks to the world, to generations to come, and this is what we're talking about funding. One of the greatest exports that we have from this country is our cultural product. We export music, we export film, we export drama, theater. All of these things, activities funded by the National Endowment for the Arts. So when we say to our taxpayers, our constituents, what are your values? We can say, you know, those Tomahawk missiles are wonderful. And, you know, I certainly understand that we need to defend our country. But when we talk about our contributions to the history of mankind, humankind, it is undeniable that what we invest, the small amount we invest in supporting our creative genius, will be paid back many, many times over. So I'm proud to stand here and support funding for the National Endowment for the Arts, opposing the Wahlberg Amendment, which would further cut the funding that has already been substantially reduced, and stand for the values of the millions and millions of men and women and children who not only participate in artistic activities, but also benefit immeasurably through an enhanced quality of life in our country. And with that, I yield back.
Gentleman yields back.